Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 20th November 2023. My name is TSV Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. HARDAN, 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 Haribol, TRSV, Nectar, NECTAR, Nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been trying to discuss about the knowledge and information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in this vlog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of all that we have been doing in all my previous videos. Kindly subscribe to this vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my previous, present, and future videos. So let us continue with the topic of discussion for today's video. In the past few videos, we have been trying to understand and analyze the entity called self inside the human living entity, whether male or female. We all know by now that as Kshirodakasai Vishnu, a plenary expansion of the Creator Mahavishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Personality of Godhead resides within every atom in the universe created by Lord Brahma. In that process, we may say that we are no exceptions, as we are also a multitude of atoms of the same heavenly body that has been created by Brahma in this universe. This particular Kshirodakasai Vishnu is called the localized Paramatma by the spiritualists of yore. It is called the super soul by other people or living entities of other religions in this world. In other words, we have been gently advised to look within, meditate within, and contemplate within to first understand the spirit soul that we are and have been enveloped by four layers of material body, thus making us change our actual identity as a spirit soul into a living entity. When we meditate within, we find that spirit soul which we call self. The spirit soul is qualitatively equal to the super soul or localized Paramatma that resides within us all. Swami Bhakti Vedanta of ISKCON has described this very beautifully. There are two birds of the same species which are sitting on the branch of a tree which is actually this universe. Of these two birds, one is enjoying the fruits, punishments, and pleasures of this material world, which is that banyan tree, and is trying to extricate itself from this repeated cycle of material births and deaths in this material world. On the other hand, when it is eating these fruits of success, failures, pain, pleasures, tears, etc., the other bird is just plainly getting detached or remaining detached and observing this bird eat that fruit. The bird that is eating that fruit is none other than this spirit soul, which is of the same species that the other bird, which is actually the localized Paramatma or super soul, belongs to. In other words, this super soul and the individual spirit soul belong qualitatively to the same spirit whole. When this spirit soul turns to its right or left and watches that super soul of a bird which is still now watching this spirit soul, only then this spirit soul realizes, remembers, and understands plus identifies its own true identity as a spirit soul which was initially a spirit spark which had got ejected out of the spirit soul several eons before. Once it comes to know of its true identity, this spirit soul realizes its true self as the spirit soul, and then it tries to liberate itself from this painful and repeated chain of births and deaths in this material world. This is known as liberation. Once this spirit soul liberates itself from this cocoon of four layers of material body, it becomes a fully evolved spirit soul and tries to get delivered in the final step towards deliverance to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the actual theory of the spiritualists of yore who have been advising and suggesting this to us ignoramuses for times immemorial. As has been said by one gangster in India, we all come out of this earth. Some of us get qualified enough to get liberated out of this painful chain of birth and death, while the others die and remain on earth to repeat that chain of birth and death endlessly. We must all remember this before we discuss about the topic of the day. Yesterday we discussed about how two guards of the gate of palace of the heavenly abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, were given a blessing in disguise by four Kumaras in the shape of a so called curse to come and inhabit this earth for some time to evolve themselves. And so these two angrily approached the Master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, and asked for deliverance. Lord Vishnu accepted that offer or that request, and then he made a counter offer to the same two gods. Either you take three births as demons in the demon species, fight with me, and get killed by me all the three times, and thus get qualified enough to come back to me, or else you live as another species called demigods for 7 long births, enjoy the fruits of this material world, and once you have completed that cycle as demigods, come back to me as demigods and get delivered into me. Here there was a ringer. Both demons, demigods, plus humans, all living entities, celestial beings, angels, and all other species in this universe have originally been created under the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the Creator of this universe, Lord Brahma, who is one of the triumvirate that rules this universe after creating it. Because such creation has taken place under the specific instructions of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we may safely assume that he will forever try to shy away from killing any such creation because initially it was only his creation. As has been mentioned before, demons also come under that category. In such a case, if Jaya, the first god, and Vijaya, the second god, tried to take three births as demons and fight with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and try to get killed under his own hands in the three births, then it looks like a very impossible or next to impossible type of proposition. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead mentioned to these two gods. They had to be born as demons. We will appreciate that they already belong to that particular species only because that was the very reason that they were qualified as huge, muscular, and powerful people guarding the gates of the palace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jaya and Vijaya were too demonic in nature to understand this. They felt that three births as demons getting killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead was a faster way to come and get blended into the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of deliverance than to waste your time in seven births as demigods enjoying this material world and then coming back to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They did not understand this particular singer from Lord Vishnu. He is the creator of this universe through Brahma. So he will not try to destroy even one atom in this universe, let alone kill a demon who is also his own creation. This means that to qualify to be killed by Lord Vishnu in one birth, these demons will have to go through billions of births as demons before getting qualified in a birth where they will fight with God and then get killed. That means three births as demons who will be killed by God means that before that you will have to take at least 3 million births as ordinary demons in this material world and go through all the experiences that a demonic person has to go through as a demon. Lord Vishnu mentioned only three births. He mentioned only three killings in those three births when these guys got killed by Lord Vishnu during a fight. But he safely refused to mention to the same gods that to be qualified to be killed by Lord Vishnu, they will have to take so many births in the demonic species. Similarly, he mentioned only seven births as demigods, but as demigods, those births of those two gods will be very pleasant and enjoyable. So much so that when a person gets a birth as a demigod, he or she will enjoy life in this material world to such an extent that he would or she would not like to blend into the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, to get seven births as demigods and to be delivered into the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The same two gods, Jaya and Vijaya, will have to take at least 7 million births as demigods in this material world and enjoy the fruits of this material world. And by that time, this complete cycle of 7 births as demigods and then qualified for deliverance into the supreme personality of Godhead, probably they would have even forgotten what the Lord had promised them initially. But here, these demonic gods forgot about this particular zinger, and so they hastily decided to live in this world as demonic demons or demonic personalities for 3 births and get killed by none other than their own creator and master, Lord Vishnu. They hastily replied, "We would rather live in 3 births as demons and get killed by you than remain in this material world in 7 births as demigods." Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, smiled at these two ignoramuses. He refrained from telling these two gods that to be killed even once by Lord Vishnu, they will have to take at least 1 million births in various forms in the lemon species, go through an ocean of pain and suffering, and thus get qualified as a demon who will be killed by Lord Vishnu. Once he or these once this god or both gods get killed by Lord Vishnu, they will have to go through another cycle of 1 lakh births in the demonic form to get qualified to become the demon who will be killed by Lord Vishnu again. Thus, the cycle goes on. As mentioned before, these these two demons, Jaya and Vijaya, will have to have an endless cycle of very painful births and deaths in the demonic form before they get completely qualified to be delivered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here, I would like to remind you that because it is a creation by Lord Vishnu, what we ordinary mortals or demigods, angels, celestial beings consider as physical and mental torture for the demons is something that is natural for these demons. What we consider as a purgatory or a prison is actually a heaven for these demons. So the painful sufferings of these two demons in the demonic variety will be nothing for them when it will be actually almost unbearable for we ordinary mortals or celestial beings, angels, or demigods. Similarly, the pleasures that the demigods will enjoy during those seven births will be nothing for them as such because they are demigods, but even one iota of such pleasure for us mortals, celestial beings, or angels will be far greater for us to digest. Anyway, when Jaya and Vijaya chose to remain demons in three births, God gave them that permission. Immediately after this, the blessing in disguise by the four Kumaras, shaped in the form of a curse, began working. The first birth in which Jaya and Vijaya were face to face with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and got killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead was that of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, two demons from the demonic kingdom. Hiranyakashipu was Vijaya and Hiranyaksha was Jaya, or Hiranyakashipu was Jaya and Hiranyaksha was Vijaya. Anyway, we can safely assume here that the younger brother of the two got killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead before he killed the elder one. The first cycle was over with the slaying of Jaya and Vijaya in the form of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Now the second birth remained. For this second birth, the same Jaya and Vijaya had to go through at least 1 million births in the demonic form before they got qualified as Ravana and Kumbhakarna. One was Jaya and the other was Vijaya. Both Ravana and Kumbhakarna had at last qualified to fight with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu, who had come in this world as Lord Rama, an incarnation of Mahavishnu. Because of this, destiny began playing its own part in the complete exercise. Unless and until Lord Rama, who was born as a prince in the kingdom of Ayodhya in the north of India, confronted Ravan and Kumbhakarna, who were ruling the southern tip of the Indian subcontinent. These will not have a fight in which Jaya and Vijaya, who were now born as as Kumbhakarna and Ravana, will be slain in the fight. For making this possible, Lord Rama, who was an incarnation of Mahavishnu, was banished to the forest for 14 long years so that he could travel down the complete path and at last, due to destiny, confront these two demons, Jaya and Vijaya were born as Ravana and Kumbhakarna in the Indian subcontinent and a kingdom called Sri Lanka. We shall continue with this case history in my next video. This is all I wanted to talk about in this particular video. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular very important case history for the Hindu spiritualists, mortals, and devotees. Please give me your own expert views, thoughts, and opinions so that I may keep reminding you of all my other videos and blending your own opinions to mine for the sake of the society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.